Oh dear, my friends, things are busy. I'm leaving for a stage race here in 2 days. Well, I don't know when this will come out. This will probably come out Friday. So I have left one day ago, but I'm trying to unpack from Canada, pack for this stage race, and then we have our race, Montana Meltdown, coming up in less than a month now. But that aside, I thought this would be a cool opportunity to share how I prepare for something, especially something that is new. I've done a lot of FKTs with records on the Arizona Trail, John Muir Trail, Colorado Trail, blah, blah, blah. You've heard it before. All the notable ones, duh, except the long ones. I was going to go for the Pacific Crest Trail record in 2020 and the Appalachian Trail record, but COVID thwarted those plans and I ended up working at a grocery store because I was pretty financially anxious and thought I needed some money for a stopgap because things kind of crumbled for a little bit as far as literally everything. I'm sure people are in the same boat or much worse, but I have not gone for those records. That's a long way of saying that. Anyways, so let's get into the stage race. Is called Grand to Grand. It's 6 days long, and here is how I prepare for it. So first I got into the race, and then I got an email like a month ago, and it was like, you need to have your doctor sign this medical waiver. Didn't really expect that because I've been so busy this summer. I love being busy. That's just my life. Always tackling new projects, which is why I've done pretty much everything I've set my mind to. But that means you're constantly busy and sometimes flying by the seat of your pants, and the seat of my pants are worn out. Okay. Anyways, so get this email that I need to get this thing signed by my doctor. To handle that within a couple days. It was like right before I went to probably the Wasatch 100, so I had to like get a short turnaround and get in to see doctor, get that signed, all good. It's when I start looking at the itinerary, and so this is kind of how I plan things. So first off, a route like this, I look at how long it's going to be. So it's 6 days, duration and time out there. This can be applied to backpacking trips, pretty much anything. So it's going to be 6 days and about, I think it's 170 miles here. Things are in miles and kilometers. So we'll just say 170 miles-ish over 6 stages with a short stage of 8 miles on the last day. Most of the stages are between a marathon and a 50K, and then there's a long stage of 53 miles. So that gets me thinking, what kind of gear do I need? And so since I need to carry both a sleeping bag, a sleeping pad, and miscellaneous gear, pretty much everything I need for a fast pack or a camping trip, except for a tent, because they provide those to sleep in at each of the camps, and they also provide hot water, so that eliminates stove. And I guess I need to carry the requirement of carrying capacity of water, which I think is around 4 liters. I should check that, but here I'm a little behind the 8 ball, as they say. So this gets me thinking like, okay, I'm going to go with my normal backpacking, fast packing setup, not backpacking. Backpacking would be something more leisure or something that I'm going to be carrying a bear can in and a few more luxuries. This has me thinking, okay, pack size, probably in that 20 to 30 liter range. And I want something that carries pretty snug to my body and doesn't bounce a lot, because I think this will be a combination of running and hiking. And that also has me thinking I'm going to want more of a harness system that carries both, water, food on the front, so easily accessible. Side pockets are always a bonus, but then a pretty compressed back compartment, just so that it's weatherproof, because I think there's going to be plenty of sand out there, and also just the ability to keep that sleeping bag dry if there's, rain or anything like that. So here I finally got the required gift gear list. Wow, I just combined those 2 words. So basically I just need mostly fast pack stuff. I do have to have 2 headlamps, red flashing light, 1.5 liters of water minimum capacity. Actually, that's pretty easy. That's less than I take most of the time. The other interesting thing is I have to get a country patch. So I guess repping USA, baby, USA. And I have to sew that onto my shirt sleeve. So I have to pick out a shirt. And then basically the staples of rain jacket or poncho, and then insulated jacket blah, blah, blah. So this has me dialed into what size pack I'm going to carry for all this gear. And then it brings me to what I need to carry as far as food. So 6 days, and I'm thinking average 30 miles a day with a 50-mile day, but that 50-mile day is over about 48 hours. So we're just going to do 50K a day for 6 days. So it's a 6-day food carry, but I don't need to carry a stove. So I'm going to substitute that. So I'm thinking 2 to 3 pounds of food for all you Canadian listeners, of which there's actually many. So thank you for joining the podcast. Sorry for the last episode. If you haven't listened to that, you really should. It's a great one, just making fun of myself with my terrible Canadian accent. But so that has me thinking, okay, how am I going to do this food situation? So I'm thinking I want calories per ounce, high calories per ounce. There's actually requirements on how many ounces of food you have to have left at the end of each day. And so that I don't think I'm going to have to worry about, but it is something to consider. I'm thinking just because the hot water that's available and the fact that I have my signature meal with ReadyWise, name drop, there you go. I may take a couple freeze-dried meals and we will see from there. But the fact that they give you hot water to make these meals seems like kind of a no-brainer to have something hot. And I'm a coffee guy, so I'll probably have coffee in the morning. But this also raises the question of what apparatus, what receptacle, what type of like bowl or cup or whatever will I be sipping coffee out of or eating my meal out of. So kind of what I've thought through is I'm going to have one of the packages of the meals to make the first meal in, and then subsequently the rest will be packaged in probably smaller Ziploc bags with the air taken out, so they pack a lot smaller because I'm trying to take probably a 28-liter pack. And so that should pack pretty well. And I'll just probably have one for each night. I'm actually thinking maybe 1.5 for some of the earlier days so that I get around 1,000 calories per that meal alone. And then I'm not a huge nut guy, which is really unfortunate because nuts have a high calories per ounce and also plenty of protein. So I do tolerate and think sunflower seeds are okay. And since those have one of the higher calories per ounce and protein in them, I'm going to take those probably like a cup each day, mostly maybe as like an after dinner snack or something. I'm also thinking I have protein powder that I have usually in the morning and in the evening, depending on how intense training is. Lately, it's been pretty light. I've been doing actually a lot of biking. Maybe I'll get into that a little bit later, but I'm thinking start the day off with a protein shake, which means I'll probably have to find a wider mouth water bottle to pour it into or shake it up, or have some type of cup as what I'm going to have, which I've used in the past, like a Gatorade bottle because the wider mouth, or I also have used a shaker cup. I use that on the Calendar Triple Crown because you can cook in there or for the hot water and your meal, close the lid and it will rehydrate on its own. It's actually pretty smart. And then you throw in a long-handled spoon, dinner, coffee, protein shakes, those are taken care of. And then snack of probably sunflower seeds because I just want to squeeze in a little bit more protein. And then from there, I'm thinking, what am I going to eat? These are 50 Ks, so 31-ish miles, but also I'm going to be moving, let's say 8 to 10 hours because I'm going to be carrying probably 20 pounds on my back. So that has me thinking, what are going to be the things that I'm going to eat? And since in 100, I'm going to be moving faster, or 50 mile, anything shorter, I usually go with a carb-centric approach, usually 90 grams of carbs an hour. Since this will be slower movement, which means slower heart rate, which means probably zone 1 heart rate, which I should do an episode on this, it means I'm going to be burning more of a mixture of fat and carbs. So I'm going to want some combination of the two of them. So I have not thought a ton about this, but in just initially musing on this, for a lot of FKTs, I like to go with something like peanut butter filled pretzels because they have carbs and protein in them and the balance is pretty good. It's not my favorite snack, but I can usually get them down. So I'll probably have some of those and then I'm going to likely combine that with some of my favorite snacks. Dot's pretzels, love them. They should sponsor me. Goldfish crackers, love them. They should sponsor me. And I'll probably throw in some chips because it is going to be hot. It's in southern Utah. And so that salt is going to be essential. And since I don't want to take liquid calories, the ones I usually take have salt in them. And I will probably just take a couple little, what do they call them? Pouches, shooters, little sleeves, I don't know, of electrolytes and pour those in on my own throughout the day, maybe once or twice. I'm less worried about salt because I think I'll be getting it. The other reason I'm going with freeze-dried meals is most of them have a lot of salt. They kind of suck the sodium right out of you. Oh, well, I think it's going to be beneficial in that environment. And so as I dive into how many calories I need, I like to do the math of, let's say for this type of thing, 200 calories an hour should be fine. And so if 8 hours are moving, that is 8 times 200. So 1600 there. It's on top of what you normally need of 2,000. So I'm probably going to target in the range of 4,000 calories per day just because add extra movement. And we'll see. I haven't added up exactly where I'm at now, but I think that combination of trying to I'm burping here. Throwing that combination of simple carbs, foods I like, things that are salty, the meals, and then some nuts. I'm going to have to supplement with something, and let's be honest, it's probably going to be like gummy bears or gummy worms, but for the most part, trying to hit the higher concentrated foods with more benefit, more carbs that aren't sugar, which is usually beneficial for longer lasting energy as opposed to just straight gummy bears. But, you know, gummy bears, especially in the hot environment, it's kind of nice to take your mind off it and have something with a different texture than crunchy or slurpy like a goo. I also have these honey goo gels. I think it's gels that I will probably take, but we will see. And then beyond that, some of the required gear that I've talked to, so I like to research or talk to other people who've done it, is it sounds like it's a lot of sand out there. So that kind of influences the shoe choice. I may even take gaiters. I'm not really sure. I'll probably travel down with them and decide last minute. But I also have a shoe that has the mesh is higher up, I guess you would say. So it's like got 2 more inches of clearance before the sand can get in through the mesh. My feet are still probably going to be sandy, but it's kind of how it goes. And then I'm going to depend, I think, on the thru hiker style of just rotate through a couple pairs of socks through the week, maybe have a backup third pair. And then beyond that, I'm thinking sun protection is pretty big. So going to go hat or visor. Visor guy now, you never know. It's pretty funny when you get that divot of hair sticking up through a visor. And then sun shirt is going to be the method here of, you know, getting across that Utah desert. And so now that I've kind of honed in on the gear, which I obviously have not packed because I'm prioritizing this podcast first, I dive into the terrain and kind of what I'm expecting for each stage. So it looks like stage 1, as I look at this elevation profile, stage 1 is, it looks like it, oh my gosh, everything's in meters, and I'm not a meter guy, even though I was in Canada, eh? So stage 1, downhill, then uphill at the end. Nothing is a substantial climb except for the beginning of a couple of these days. I'm not too concerned about the elevation gain. There's 17,000 feet over the 170 miles or so. So it shouldn't be too much of an issue with the climbing. So I think the main goal is just going to be moving consistently throughout most of these, and then I think take it conservatively from the start. With just some disappointing racing this season, my main goal for this is to treat it like an adventure and have a good time out there and kind of refine that joy of moving over terrain like this. I love this area. It goes through the coral pink sand dunes by Kanab, through the edge of Grand Canyon National Park, not on the canyon, but it's pretty close to it. And then near Bryce Canyon, not too far from Zion. So it's really cool terrain, but it's 50% sand. So that is something to take into account. I'm going to have extra stuff for chafing, which I should definitely make a note of that right now. But the main thing that is unique about this is there is no contact with reality. Well, I mean, there is no phone use. You get disqualified if you use your phone, which is pretty sweet. I mean, you can use it to take photos and video, but it's like a detox from technology, which I think makes the course route, idea, adventure really cool. I've also never done a stage race, so this is the first time I get to do one of those. And then the other thing that I like to do when planning this out is to look at some of the times from last year, just so that I can kind of juxtapose how much food and calories I'm going to consume and have available while I'm out there. And the other thing, so calories, once you get gear, calories and eating is going to be the biggest thing. I bet you anything. I'd bet all the listeners on this podcast that most people are going to show up with too much food, because you just think you're going to consume a certain amount, but when you're out there, just like through hiking, it's really hard to dial it in. Everyone starts out with too much food, and you realize you only eat this certain amount. It's not 300 calories an hour, 90 grams of carbs an hour, 120 carbs an hour like people are doing in ultra running, because you're moving at a slower pace. I talked with Derek Lytle on a podcast about this too. It's really planning what you're actually going to eat and not having to carry more than that, because that's just dead weight. So I'm really trying to hone in on the amount of calories I'm actually going to eat and have very little excess. So even when I did the John Muir Trail in 2022, the record on that, I ended with like 5,000+ extra calories, which is very bad. It is not helpful in any way. Just carrying dead weight. So the goal is not to do that on this one. So when I look at the times from last year and I just go like first place onward, holy cow, first place finished stage 1 in 6 hours. And stage 2 in 6 hours and 40 minutes. He actually won by 6 hours overall. That's pretty crazy. 15 hours for the longest stage, the 50-mile stage. So that's probably what I'm going to use for the fast end, and then maybe plan for somewhere in that 7-hour mark of a 50K. So that's kind of how I plan out the calories, and how I'm going to pack them is each is going to be in its individual bag, so that day one, I can pull it out and pack the calories I'm going to eat during the run, during the stage on the top, so they're easily accessible. Some will be in the back because I have very flexible shoulders. Nothing else is flexible, but I can reach around my back and grab calories out of the back of my pack, which makes it accessible. There is room in the front pouches because I'm going to use a harness system on the pack I'm going to use. So it's got like this runner type vest strap system on the front with a harness type thing, which just basically means 3 sternum straps that connect it, so the bounce is pretty low. I actually wore this pack on the Ruby Crest Trail, so I gave it a pretty good run. That was about 75 miles with 20,000 feet of gain. So comparable gain, shorter distance by half or so, but it worked pretty good. I liked how it carried. And on that trail, I had 4.5 days of food. Felt fine. And when you take the tent out, that'll just substitute for another 1.5 days of food. So should be fine with both the weight there. And I also carried more water on some of the Ruby Crest Trail. So I've already tested the pack and confident how it works. But how I'll do it is I will have 6 plastic bags packed with all of the calories, and then pull each one out on each day, and then meals from there. And then the last thing is logistics. So I'm glad I looked at this before. So they have this itinerary tab, and I didn't realize you have to like get down there and check in a day before the race starts. So that means I have to leave on Thursday, check in on Friday because I'm going to drive down, and then there's a hotel Friday into Saturday. Then they bus you to the first camp, give you dinner on Saturday, and then you begin. And so that's sort of the logistics of the travel. And then so finding a place for my car to go. And then also, how am I going to do things like keep time out there, recharge my headlamp, things like that. So how much battery power, power banks, etc. am I going to need out there? Things like I wear contacts, so how am I going to handle my glasses situation? How am I going to get through all these little logistics that kind of like the thing of the meals, hot water, eating them, a receptacle, things like that, coffee in the morning. So these are all just little logistics that surround it as you get deeper and deeper. So first I start with the route, the itinerary, what I'm dealing with, the weather. And then I hone in on more the food, the calories, the schedule, how I'm going to pack them, and the gear. And then coincidentally, along the way, that's when I'm strategizing and finding things like they like to call it macros in the bodybuilding and fitness world, but sorting out things like that. And so that's how I'm going to attack it. And then at that point, once I kind of have a lay of the land, that's when I'll set a goal, whether it's a backpacking trip, a fast packing trip, an FKT, or now a stage race. So my first stage race. So I'll set a goal probably for each stage and adjust that along the way. But it's good to have the previous times and just see it. Like I have an elevation profile here. There's not a ton of information on the route because it's kind of secret, it seems like. But that is how I attack the planning of something new. I think I am going to I have this little microphone that plugs into my phone and you can't use internet out there, but I was thinking maybe there's some interesting people and I'll just like record a podcast, because you get to the end of each stage and then you have downtime for, I don't know, the rest of the evening. And the 50-mile stage, it starts at like 10 a.m. and you finish, and the whole next day is still dedicated to that longer stage. So maybe there'll be some opportunity to get some fun content with some people out there with nothing to do. So I don't know. Should I take a book? It'll be fun. It's a totally different style. After this, I will have raced every style of race from last person standing, fixed time, Barkley marathons, 200 milers, 100 milers, 50 milers, 100K, 50K, marathon, half marathon, 10K, triathlon. So I think this is the last one. So that should help for the future. And I'm pretty excited to cross another style of adventure off the list. And with a year full of disappointment, I am just going to go out there and have an adventure and enjoy it. I am not going to care about the result. I'm going to do the best I can within the realm of having fun, because I am just excited to have some fun out there, do something different, and worry less. I think I've let some of this racing stuff consume me, on top of growing my athlete list to 20 people now, working pretty hard with that, learning new stuff on that front, starting a podcast. The movie even came out this year. It's starting a race directing. So it's been a busy year. I'm excited to have 6 days, phone detox, and just enjoy it out there. It's a cool area. Not going to tie myself to the result, and I really need to get packing. So that's how I am attacking Grand to Grand. That's kind of how I plan from top down and think about things. This was more of a musing. Hopefully it's helpful to any of you out there. As always, fan mail, reach out, jeff@freeoutside.com. Some of the YouTube comments suck, but it's okay. Still engagement. Thank you very much for your opinions. I guess I value them. If they're mean, though, it makes me sad, so that sucks. All right. With that, my friends, stay elite and have fun out there. It's okay to smile. Have fun. I mean, it was pretty fun being up at Divide and watch people hit their goals, whether they were finishing in just under 100 hours or in 60 or 70 hours. It's pretty fun when you go after your goals, no matter if you get them, no matter if you don't. It's pretty awesome. Stepping up to the start line, give it a go. If it's scary, it's an awesome goal to have. So get back out there, chase goals, set goals, win at life. Stay elite, my friends.